everything, all things. But then he's also the Rahim. The Rahim is the one that reserves some special expression of his mercy for those of belief. With the believers, he's Ra'uf and Rahim. He's kind and gentle and Rahim. But never forget that God's mercy encompasses all things. No one is outside of it. No one can do something that forfeits their access to it, inasmuch as he is the Rahman. And more than just talking about how mercy in the first 10 days of Ramadan is coming from on high to us, we have to work on becoming vessels, becoming, means of that mercy reaching people. The Prophet ﷺ said in an authentic hadith, Irham man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. Show mercy to those on earth, and the one above the heavens will have mercy upon you. We should strive to be beauty marks among creation. And yes, some people end up in dark places, perhaps end up in depraved places, end up in lonely places, end up in neglected places where it becomes difficult for them to see God's mercy. It's difficult for them to see that we should strive to be reminders to those people. I was watching a couple of days ago a documentary about public housing in Chicago. And, public housing in Chicago was really the acme of systemic inequality. It was where all of those factors that marginalized and circumscribed the lives of Black people and poor people, this was their meeting point, public housing in Chicago. And there used to be he actually was a lay person. He was not a minister. If you saw him in this Cossack, in this long garment, you would assume he was a friar. You would assume that he was a monk, but he wasn't a monk. But his name was Bill Tomes. Everybody, Brother Bill Tomes. And he would patrol the Henry Horner homes. He would patrol Cabrini Green at night, just trying to, lend a helping hand, not trying to proselytize, not giving dawah of any sort. He said that his mission was just to love people, just to love people. And when they asked him, man, what are you doing out here? White American guy from Evanston, right? Walking around what many would perceive as a dangerous environment. They said, man, what are you doing here? The interviewer was asking him this from ABC. And he said, man, we're just trying to remind people of God's love for them. Man, I broke down and started weeping. We're just trying to remind people of God's love for them. That's all. Not trying to proselytize, not preaching, not teaching, just trying to remind people of God's love for them. The Prophet ﷺ said in a better expression than that, Irham man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. Have mercy on the people on earth, and God will have mercy on you. And through our having mercy on the people on earth, we remind them of God's mercy upon them. Some people, when you talk to them about their disaffection with religion, or perhaps their disaffection with God, everything they say involves human beings. People did this, and people did that, and people did this, and people did that. Because whether we want to be or not, we are vessels. We are the means through which people can see the mercy of God. And in the spirit of Ramadan, we want to make sure that we're being that. I'm also reading the Shama'il of Imam at-Tirmidhi. And the Prophet ﷺ was talking about his many names. And he says, Ana Muhammad, I am Muhammad. Ana Ahmed, I am Ahmed. And he's going, then he says, Ana Nabiyur Rahmah. I am the prophet of mercy. Ana Nabiyur Rahmah. I'm the prophet of mercy. We know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says concerning the Prophet alayhi wasallam, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Listen to that. And think about what I was telling you about Brother Bill Holmes. We have only sent you as a mercy to everything that exists. Allah didn't say we sent you, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We have only sent you as a mercy to the believers. Or رَحْمَةً لِلْعَرَبِ, a mercy to the Arab. Or رَحْمَةً لِلْرِجَالِ, a mercy to the men. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have only sent you as a mercy to everything that exists. That the presence of the Prophet ﷺ embodies mercy toward everything. And if we want to be prophetic in our character, especially thinking about the first 10 days of Ramadan, thinking about mercy, we have to check ourselves. How merciful are we being? First and foremost to ourselves. Our dhulm, all of our oppression, first and foremost, it goes against ourselves. We will see the ill effect. We will see the result of our wrongdoing, right? Every doer of wrong is first wronging their own soul. And then after that, the people closest to us, our family, our friends, how much mercy does when people see us, do they feel relief or do they feel consternation? The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-Muslimu man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadi. The believer is the one from whom other people feel safe from their tongue and their hands. When people see us, do they immediately feel that security, that safety? This is a good sister. She will not berate me, will not abuse me, will not slander me, will not talk about me behind my back. This is a good brother. He will not slander me, berate me, abuse me. Right? Or when people see us, do they feel consternation? Don't want to get on his bad side, especially when he's wearing his white kufi. He really thinks highly of himself. Don't want to, right? Ana Nabiyur Rahma, I am the prophet of mercy. And also thinking about mercy and how we can reflect mercy. If you want to reflect mercy, and we just talked about mercy not being relevant until mistakes are made, grace not being active until shortcomings are present. You have to prepare yourself to be disappointed by people, sometimes people that you love, sometimes people that you care for very deeply. They will disappoint you. You will see the flaws of certain people, the weaknesses of certain people. Mercy, subhanAllah. I was talking to one of my oldest actually teachers, Sheikh Muhammad Imam on 63rd Street, 63rd and Homer. And I was asking him for, some advice. And he said that no, good relationships are not sustained through perfection. Good relationships are sustained through mercy. SubhanAllah. Good relationships are not sustained through perfection. No. In a relationship, we're going to let people down. We're going to be let down. We're going to disappoint people. We're going to be disappointed. Good relationships are sustained through rahmah, through mercy. And that's why in the verse in the Quran, Allah talks about the husband and the wife, and he says, "What ja'ala bainakum mawaddatan wa rahma." We place between them love and mercy. SubhanAllah. I remember reading that verse, and that actually, for me, being one of the definitive proofs that the Quran was from Allah. That he didn't just say love, because we often think about romantic relationships being sustained by love. I love this person loves me. But what about when they make a mistake? What about when they disappoint you? What about when they get on your nerves? What about when you disappoint them? What about when you get on their nerves? That's where the rahmah, that's where the mercy comes in. So as we think about rahmah, and we think about these first 10 days of Ramadan being the 10 days of rahmah, don't simply think about rahmah God being merciful to me. No, rahmah, how am I being merciful to other people? How am I reflecting mercy? Right? How, how forgiving am I? All of these hadith, you know them. None of what we're saying is new. All of these hadith, you know. I'm just honored to be a reminder to myself and hopefully to you. The Prophet ﷺ is sitting in the masjid. He says to the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum jami'an, the next person coming through this door is a person of paradise. When the person comes in, it was an inconspicuous member of the community, somebody nobody knew. It wasn't like, oh, there goes Abu Bakr. Yeah, we saw that coming. There goes Omar, of course. Right? There goes Uthman, of course. There goes Ali. There goes Abdurrahman ibn Auf. There goes Talha. There goes Zubair. No, somebody that nobody even knew. Abdullah ibn Umar followed this man home, asked the man if he could stay with him for a few days because he and his father, Abdullah and his father, were having some issues. The man said, sure. Abdullah said he's watching this man. The man is not praying more than anybody else. Salawat al-Khamsa, goes out, prays the 5 prayers, comes home. The man is not sitting, making copious amounts of dhikr. The man is not reciting from the Quran. The man is not praying in the middle of the night. At the end of the 3rd day, Abdullah ibn Umar says, I'm not really having any difficulty with my father. The man said, subhanallah, then why did you do this? I always said to myself, that was a sign of that man's good character. That was me. Man, get out of my house, man. Stop playing around, man. He said, why did you do this? He said, well, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that you were a person of paradise. And I just wanted to observe you so that whatever you were doing, I could do it because I want to be a person of paradise. The man said, wallahi, there must be some mistake. I don't do anything that nobody else does. Subhanallah. See, these are the Sahaba, radiallahu anhum jami'an. If one of us was told, Ubaydullah, the Prophet ﷺ said that you were going to Jannah, I would be all too ready to hear that news. Really? Yeah, he must be talking about my tahajjud, mashallah. He must be talking about the sadaqah that I give, around my way, they call me big hand. No. There must be some mistake. The Prophet couldn't have said that about me. And then the man thought about it and he said, I don't do anything that nobody else does. The only thing I do is that before I go to bed at night, I remove any animosity I might have in my heart for anybody. I never sleep angry at anybody. I don't sleep with any hiqt. I don't sleep with any ghil, right? Ghil in Arabic comes from ghaliyan, to boil. I'm not boiling. Doesn't mean that I don't get offended. Doesn't mean that people don't get on my nerves. Doesn't mean that people don't hurt my feelings. But I'm not boiling and roiling with anger at anybody when I go to bed at night. I ask Allah to remove that from my heart. And this was the thing he did that earned him this glad tiding of the Prophet ﷺ, that he was a person of paradise, just his ability to show rahmah to other people, to show mercy to other people. And many hadith scholars mention this hadith as proof of irham man fil ard, yarhamkum man fis sama. If you have mercy on the people, Allah will have mercy on you. The only thing this man did, in addition to just praying his regular prayers, he didn't pray night prayers, didn't fast any non-obligatory fast. The only thing he did, he just was merciful with people. He forgave people. That's all he did. And what was the result? Allah forgave him. Allah entered him into his paradise. He was merciful. He experienced mercy. So, mercy is about much more than these 10 days. Let these 10 days be, 10 days of mercy where, we reduce our expectations of other people. I was doing a conference with a group of Muslims in San Antonio, and there was she's a chaplain named Ustada Lubna Mullah from Southern California. And people were asking her for advice. How do we get through this quarantine? My wife and I were at home together. We normally have a neutral corner to go to. Now we don't. She said, reduce your expectations of other people and increase your expectation of yourself. SubhanAllah, that's mercy. Reduce your expectations of other people. If other people are a little cantankerous, a little angry, a little upset, don't have an expectation that they would be other than that. Right? But increase your expectation of yourself. That's rahmah. That's the rahmah that we are in need of in these 10 days. And if we can do that for each other, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was sadiq, he's masduq, right? He's truthful and he's believed. Sadiq wal masduq. He's truthful and he's believed. He has informed us that if we do that, God will have mercy on us. And who amongst us can say that we're not in need of God's mercy? If you think that you're not in need of God's mercy, you need God's mercy for thinking that. Right? So, these are days of mercy. My recommendation in terms of some practical action items would be to, reach out to people that you haven't spoken to in some time. Reconcile with them. Take the moral high road. We don't know whose fault it was, right? Al-badi'u bis-salami bari'un min al-kibr. The one that initiates the greeting is free of arrogance. The same is true of the one that initiates the reconciliation. Maybe it was his fault. Maybe it was her fault. I want to initiate the reconciliation, right? That's rahmah. This is the way that we earn blessing in these first 10 days of Ramadan, and we reflect its spirit. We're sitting at home. The only thing we have is our phones anyway. Why not scroll through the contact list and think, who haven't I talked to in a while? Who did I get into it with on the basketball court and said something crazy, right? Who did I borrow a book from and never returned it? My best friend loaned me a book, the James Cone joint. I still haven't given it back to him. How can I, mend some fences, right? And let me be first. Let me be the one that initiates. That's rahmah. And when we engage in that way, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala engages us in that way. And I just wanted to share that and to encourage us to be manifestations of Allah's rahmah in these first 10 days of Ramadan. I might end class a little bit early today because I have something I have to tend to. But I do want to take some questions, inshallah. Randa, can you read that last question to me?
I don't actually see any questions.
There was a question. It started with weird question. I saw it flash up. And as soon as I was reading it, it disappeared. And I'm afraid that I'm not savvy enough in my tech to retrieve the question. If I start pressing buttons, this session will end abruptly.
I think they may have sent it just to you. Does the person who sent it, do you guys feel comfortable asking out loud?
I can hardly see it. Oh, wait. See, this is what I'm talking about. Wait, I'm trying to get back. See, once I start pressing buttons, I get in trouble. Wait, hold up. I'm not slick with this technology, man.
Or can somebody send that to the? You got it?
Okay. It's funny. I can actually see the question now.
Okay.
But I don't know how to get my camera back going.
Well, we can see you. We still see you.
Yeah, we can still see you.
Me? Okay, bismillah.
Yeah.
Bismillah. It's actually quite disorienting to be able to see yourself when you're speaking. That's a strange thing about Zoom and WebEx. Like I can actually see myself when I'm speaking. I'm like, man, do I look that crazy when I'm speaking? But bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Weird question. Oh, bismillah. Yes, the question was, how do we differentiate between lowering our expectations of others and settling for mistreatment, settling for disrespect. Yeah, and especially in the workplace. No, we should not, I, I have strong opinions about this, especially because in the professional space, whether we want to be or not, we become representative of other Muslims. So that if we allow ourselves to be treated with disrespect, with disregard, then that will become the precedent and that will become the norm for people who come after us. So in that case, I think you have to insist on at least, it's kind of like thubut al-haq qabla an-nuzuli, right? You have to establish what is right before you can forgive. See, what I think is challenging about the professional space is some people are disrespectful. Some people are rude, and their rudeness and disrespect is never pointed out to them. Whereas if a person's rudeness is at least pointed out to them, if a person's disrespect is at least made clear to them, then they give me an opportunity to forgive them. This was wrong. This was wrong. After that is acknowledged, then I can say, but we're all human beings. I'm sure you'll work not to let it happen again. But if we're entering a pattern of disrespect, a pattern of disregard, and it's never being pointed out, I could actually be creating an uncomfortable space for people who will come after me. So very good question. Very good question. Very good question. Is there anything else?
Yeah, there's one question that I got, just how do you not dismiss someone when lowering your expectations of them?
Yeah, I think this is where there's two ways of lowering expectations. One is through a recognition, and this is the better way, through a recognition of limitation, through a recognition of a person having faults, a person having shortcomings. The other is kind of where you try to make the person feel guilty, that they are so pathetic. They are so unreliable that whatever they've shown, you don't expect anything more of them. This is actually not mercy. This is something that people convey to people in order to demoralize them, right? This is like forgiveness. This is like scorn and contempt dressed in the garb of forgiveness, right? It's dressed in the garb of forgiveness. He's just an unreliable person. She's just an untrustworthy person. She is someone who cannot be, told something. She will not hold your confidence. Just don't even think that she could do any better. No. Mercy is when you're praying for the person and you would hope that they would be good, but in the event that they are not, you are prepared to forgive them. And you don't even have to make that known to them, especially a loved one. I want to differentiate between this question, which I think is more about, our, friends, community members, relatives, etc. And in a professional space where I think the standards and protocols are much more clearly defined in terms of how we are to deal with each other. Right.
Okay, we have another question. How do we know we're doing enough in this month? And how do we get over this idea that we're always playing catch up to become knowledgeable among those around us or around you? Sorry.
I think, one of the, mashallah, that question is like right on time. Um, that's an expression of rahmah, is that don't think that you're gaining or earning God's forgiveness in this month is about your exertion. It really isn't. I mean, yes, we've been given a task, right? We've been given a responsibility, and we have to try to uphold that responsibility. We have to try to, fulfill that covenant that we would fast for God's sake from dusk, from dawn until dusk. But the reward that we get is not about what we do, right? We're not forgiven in accordance with our exertion. We are forgiven in accordance with God's forgiveness. So I would say, do your best in this month and express first in your heart, and then perhaps even verbally, that all that I do, even if I'm just a person who fasts during the day, or I'm a person who does, I complete the Quran every 2 days, and I pray 20 rak'ah every night. Whether I'm the former or the latter, make sure that you express to God, all that I'm doing for your sake. All that I'm doing, whether I'm just fasting, whether I'm, completing a khatam of the Quran every day, all that I'm doing for your sake. And know that God will give you better than what you've given him. If what you've given him is your fast, he will give you better than that. And that should, allay some of your fears about not doing enough in this month. Just do your best. Just do the best you can. But more important than even that is, whatever you do, just make it for Allah's sake. Whatever you do. Whatever you do, make it for Allah's sake. And then let his rahmah, let his mercy, let his forgiveness, let his afu, his clemency, let his grace fill in the gap in terms of where all of us want to be in terms of in God's mercy at the end of this month. Now, and then, this thing about knowledge, knowledge, subhanAllah, many of us, we are Muslim, alhamdulillah, but I think our conception of knowledge is quite Kantian, actually. I'm thinking of Immanuel Kant, the philosopher. This kind of knowledge is power, fetishization of what you know. The greatest knowledge you have is expressed in what you are. That is, when you think about, like, subhanAllah, I was once giving a lecture at Harvard Law School. The MSA invited me, and they wanted me to talk to some students and faculty about Islamic law. And in preparation for my talk, I was walking around, just talking to some different people at HLS, and Harvard generally, and especially, Harvard Law School, it's a place of a lot of lore, LORE, a lot of stories, and people talk about, how competitive the classroom is and how accomplished the students are. And it's true that there is a disproportionate amount of representation in terms of Harvard Law School in halls of power, finance, right? You name it. And I was talking to one of the students. I can't believe I don't remember his name. And I was just, really attempting to be polite and to express how proud I was of him as a young Muslim, thriving in this environment. And I said, wow, man, you must really feel humbled to be, here at Harvard Law School, man. This is the dream of a great many people. And I'm sure the institution is meeting or matching your expectations. And he looked and he said, Alhamdulillah, I'm very happy. This is where I wanted to be, and I'm here. And I would never want to say anything that would be interpreted as what we call kufran and ni'mah, ingratitude for God's blessing. This is where I applied. This is where I wanted to be, and I'm here. However, in terms of my being, overly impressed with this place, I remind myself that if people coming out of this place are the people that are have a heightened level of influence in making our world politically, especially, and even economically, what it is, and we look at what it is, that definitely means that people coming out of this place have some things to learn and have some room to grow. And my mind was blown. I was like, whoa, he just shifted the paradigm to, okay, yes, there are clearly some very accomplished and very intelligent people here, but if what they are is producing this system of inequality, this system of unfair advantages and privileges, this system of racism, sexism, this system of social inequality, clearly, no matter what we see manifest in terms of those outward trappings of knowledge, inwardly something needs to grow, something is lacking. And that's a very Islamic perspective that young man was expressing. For us, knowledge is practice, right? Theory is theory is praxis. So if you want to, overcome this idea about what you know, replace it with what you are. If a person is honest, then they know about sidq, they know about truthfulness. If a person is generous, they know about generosity. If a person is forgiving, they know something about forgiveness. If a person is humble, then they know something about humility. Now, if a person is none of those things, but can talk about forgiveness, talk about humility, talk about generosity, that's not really knowledge, right? That's it's knowledge, but it's not useful knowledge at all. And that's interesting. It's interesting if you look at a lot of the greatest Western philosophers, and you read their biographies. A lot of them, their personal lives were in complete disarray, right? So it's weird that you see that the knowledge that one possesses may or may not result in some fruitful engagement with the way that one lives their life. So I would say, don't fetishize knowledge. Knowledge is important. I mean, you have to have knowledge before you act. But much more important than the knowledge is what you do with the knowledge, what the knowledge makes you. What are you? It's not like you are what you know. No, you are what you are. You have lots of people who know lots of things, but what they are is nothing like what they say. And I can only speak to that as effectively as I can because I have personal experience with that. Other questions?
Yep, we have two more, at least for now.
Okay.
The first one is Saddam's. Thank you for this. It's really helpful. Could you please expand on the relationship between mercy and empathy? And is it possible to have one without the other?
Mercy may or may not emanate from empathy. Of course, empathy is being able to see someone else's perspective as if you were them. That is empathy. Empathy is being able to put yourself in the position of someone else. And it's different from even sympathy, because sympathy is, you feel sorry for this person, but you don't exactly identify with them. See, empathy is, you empathize, you identify with the person. And through that identification, it becomes easy to show mercy. That, okay, this person made a mistake. And if I made the same mistake and I've made other mistakes, what I would hope for is your mercy. And, to your point about the connection between mercy and empathy, is that people who find it very difficult to forgive other people, these are usually people that have deluded self-images. Like maybe they think that they're never in need of forgiveness. And this is why they find it very difficult to forgive other people. Whereas a person who recognizes that I make lots of mistakes just like everyone else, and I, say and do regrettable things just like everyone else, it's much easier for them to empathize with other people who do the same. Although empathy is not only connected to being disappointed or being let down. Empathy is just being able to place yourself in someone's circumstance, even if it doesn't involve you, right? That's empathy, right? And sometimes empathy is, a failure to empathize is just a failure in our imagination. Like some people just really cannot imagine themselves, in the position of another person. And so that limits their ability to be, empathetic.
Okay, next one. How to instill the determination to have high expectations on children without them feeling parents are being too pushy.
I don't know. I think what we try to instill in our children, my wife leading the effort, me taking notes and trying to follow suit, is we do expect excellence. But in the event that you fail to produce something with excellence, you should expect forgiveness. You should expect empathy. You should expect mercy. So there's a dual set of expectations there. Yes, I expect certain things of my children, but I'm also teaching them to expect certain things of me. So when they don't, meet my expectations, what can they expect from me? Do they expect scorn and contempt and belittling and ridicule and being, withholding with my attention, my love, my compassion? Or do they expect mercy, forgiveness, encouragement, motivation? So, what we say is, as long as you can expect from me what I have taught you to expect from me, then I expect from you what I've expressed that I expect from you. And when you have when there is mercy, high expectations are never experienced as pushy. When one knows, I'm expected to do my very best, but if I don't meet the mark, I know that I will be forgiven and I will be given another chance. It's not pushy at that point. It's just encouragement to do my best. It's not like, my parents' love for me is on the line. My belongingness and my family is on the line. My self-respect is on the line. My dignity is on the line. No, none of that is on the line, actually. Right? None of that is on the line, right? I just want you to do your best so that you feel that what you've done is really an expression of what you want to be and what you are,
I have a question, if I may ask.
Bismillah. Yes.
So I wanted to explore something with me here. Going back to the idea of mercy. When you show mercy, are you showing mercy for an action that a person has done, or are you showing mercy to the person themselves? Like, for example, like if someone did something which might have been hurtful, or might have been a slight on me, do I show mercy for that action that person has taken, or do I just show a mercy because this person just doesn't know any better? Or like, are you following with me what the distinction is between the two?
Not exactly, Khalid. Not exactly.
So I'm thinking about it, framing it this way, right? If someone is, let's say someone does an action which is the best that they know how, right? But it still is a slight, right? Maybe they've been brought up in a certain way where this is just how their family acted or the society acted, and this is just, like, for example, someone who's maybe very outspoken.
No, I got it. I got it. Khalid, I got it. It's both. Now, one should not unnecessarily subject themselves to like poor treatment or being abused. That's not mercy, right? Subjecting yourself to abuse and things of that nature. But if a person slights you, if a person offends you, one, you want to acknowledge that this is not the best reflection of who or what this person is. They are not this thing. They did this thing. This is not who they are, but this is what they did. And I have to, I do get to decide how I want to be in relationship with that person on the basis of what they did. I'm not saying what they are in terms of their essence. The other thing is mercy on them, in that maybe they really don't know a better way. Right? So it just depends on which is relevant. Maybe a person did something and they really thought that they were helping me. Or maybe a person did something and they really thought that, I've seen people give very bad dawah, new Muslims or even, non-Muslim guests at the mosque. And I've seen people, attempt to, tell them something about Islam, and I think, oh man, what a terrible thing to say to somebody that's considering Islam, or what a terrible thing to say to a new Muslim. But in the mind of that person, right, in the understanding of that person, they were telling them something that would benefit them, right? By telling the person that, yeah, man, welcome to Islam, and if you leave Islam, you really deserve to be killed. So I'm like, whoa. You know what I'm saying? Like, whoa, what a terrible thing to say, right? But maybe in their own very unique and personal understanding, this was something they intended to help the person. So I think you want to forgive the act, and you also want to forgive the person, and put as good a construction on their act as you can. And when you do that, it's not just for them, it's for you as well, man, because it's very hard to live with the kind of cynicism that begins to creep in when you begin to see people as wretched, when you begin to see people as dark and demented and twisted and psychopathic, and that's a very dreary world. So when you put a good construction on people's actions and say, I'm not sure that I can stand to be in relationship with that person, because I don't think that's really good for me. But I don't think that the person was intentionally trying to hurt me. Maybe they thought that they were helping me. But it doesn't mean that I gotta cultivate a deep and long-standing relationship with the person either. But I do forgive them. Does that make it more clear?
Yeah, thank you so much.
No, we're actually going to stop there, inshallah. I need to leave about 30 minutes. Just full disclosure, brother in the community. I actually have something else at 7, and a brother in the community came to my house during the social distancing thing. It's how serious it is, to have a conversation about 10 feet apart, inshallah. And I promised him that I would, clear it with you guys to spend this 30 minutes with him before I have this Celebrate Mercy virtual course at 7, inshallah. So, jazakumullah khairan wa assalamu alaikum. I look forward to seeing you all next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.